Investigation. Once we start to know what our objects are, what our actual reality is, we can get down to the good stuff, knowing the truth of these things, called appropriately investigation of the truth, or investigation of the Dharma. Pali, Dhamma. Dharma here just means truth, and it is sometimes used to mean the specific truths the Buddha taught. The word can also mean moments of experience, the actual flickering sensate basis of our world, and it is these Dhammas that we investigate. My apologies for the seemingly arbitrariness with which I use either Pali or phoneticized Sanskrit, or their English equivalents for that matter. I have no loyalty to either Pali or Sanskrit, though I appreciate both, and why sometimes one sounds better to my ear than the other in any particular context is unclear to me. So once mindfulness has made these Dhammas, these moments of experience, a bit clearer, we can know that things come and go, don't satisfy, and ain't us. Hey, the three characteristics again. They are the truth. The sooner we understand this, the better, and nothing helps us understand them like seeing them again and again. Forgive my brief digression, but I am no fan of the popular term mindfulness meditation, as mindfulness is a mental factor that is essential for both concentration practices, which lead to temporary bliss states, and insight practices, which lead to fundamental freedom. Further, the mindfulness meditation movement tends to emphasize a degree of slowness in their mindfulness that I consider woefully inadequate to really penetrate what is going on in the sensate world, which is fast, rich, and intricate. Our minds are amazingly fast and powerful. Very slow investigation is sort of like using a Ferrari as a golf cart, a total waste of amazing power. The crucial difference between insight practices and concentration practices is that insight practices also stress precise, rapid investigation of the three characteristics, whereas more pure concentration practices emphasize stabilizing in the illusion of solidity and continuity of those things we are mindful of, while ignoring the fact that the sensations that make up this experience are all impermanent, etc. Thus, I hope that one day the modern meditation world drops this confusing term, mindfulness meditation, in favor of more precise language. The problem is that labeling something mindfulness meditation seems to imply that mindfulness alone is the preeminent or only factor required for meditation, whereas the 7 factors of awakening clearly indicate that mindfulness is just one of 7 requisites for successful insight practice. In addition to the categories of sensations mentioned above under mindfulness, we could also consider consistent investigation of all sensations that seem to have to do with the direction and movement of attention, as well as investigating all sensations that have to do with questioning, wanting, exerting energy, and even the individual sensations that make up the process of investigation itself. These are very interesting objects, as are what are traditionally called the hindrances. Texts on meditation generally go into detail about the hindrances to meditation. Here, I will mention them only briefly. The hindrances are an extremely important topic, but they can easily begin to seem more ominous than they really are. The hindrances are formally listed as sensory desire, ill will or malice, sloth, torpor, restlessness, worry, doubt. Each of these states of mind will inhibit meditative progress if we are not aware of them as sensate objects for investigation as they arise. If you need more advice on them, you can go online and find much information on them, or read any great text on insight meditation, such as Venerable Bhante Gunaratana's Mindfulness in Plain English, or Jack Cornfield's A Path with Heart, for one of the most extensive and methodical stepwise discussions of the fine details of how to cultivate attention and deal with all the gross and subtle hindrances ever written. See Chuladasa's excellent and very popular The Mind Illuminated, often abbreviated TMI in my social circles. There is no need for me to reproduce all the excellent advice you will find in these top-notch and widely available books. Read at least one, if not all of them. Hindrances are anything of which we are not mindful and of which we did not investigate the truth. Now that we know to be mindful and investigate the 3 characteristics of all moment-to-moment experiences, there will only be hindrances when we forget to do this. If we do not forget, there will be no hindrances. No phenomenon is inherently a hindrance unless we do not understand the sensations that make it up. If we did not understand at least one of the three characteristics of each of the sensations that make up a phenomenon, no matter what it is a hindrance. Remember that dwelling on the content of reality is not our concern in insight meditation, but instead, we focus on the bare truth of the sensations that make up that reality. So, whatever seems to be in the way of your practice, remember that the experience of that moment is the practice and contains all the truth you could ever need. All phenomena, if properly investigated, can be a source of wisdom and demonstrate the nature of ultimate truth. When we know deeply that all of these are the nature of the ultimate truth, phenomena cease to be a fundamental problem. Specifically, noticing the many little rapid sensations that make up sensory desire, ill will, sloth, torpor, restlessness, worry, and doubt is insight practice. Sometimes noticing what those really are is more profound and useful than noticing aspects of our intended primary object. There is an important shift that happens when we go from caring so much about what is going on, such as judgment, boredom, restlessness, or whatever, and switch to caring about whether we knew the sensations of what was going on. A meditator who doesn't get this might get all stressed out about their mind wandering. A more seasoned insight meditator is excited when they can note wandering and perceiving the wandering as sensations. See the difference? The same goes for all the other hindrances, since, if you note them, they aren't hindrances. Doubt, fear, irritation, dullness, and the like are all great notes to make whenever those arise. You can note them again and again if they tend to linger, and that noting of those qualities is solid insight practice. Yea, noting. In this way, we gradually transform the hindrances from an impediment to practice into a reason to practice. Then we transform them into an integral part of the practice itself, and finally, we find them as much a basis of wisdom as anything else. The Buddha was a master of teaching through stories and analogies that were easy for listeners to understand. I am certainly not in his league in this regard, as will clearly be demonstrated by the coming analogy relating to investigation. However, it has its points, and so after much consideration, I have included it here. The Buddha gave his analogies names, and I have named this one, the analogy of shootin' aliens. Bear with me here. Just about all of us today have at least seen, if not played, video games involving shooting aliens. As the game goes on, the aliens come in faster and faster, some requiring many hits to kill them. Some of these games penalize us for wasting ammunition, causing us to really focus on exactly where and when these aliens are appearing so that we may shoot them exactly when they show up before they shoot us. A few of you may already be thinking, get that bloody violent analogy out of this book of wisdom. However, if you would bother to read the old texts, you will realize that they report that the Buddha himself used many similarly edgy and even gory analogies. One that comes to mind has to do with a horse trainer who kills horses that simply will not be broken, which is meant as an analogy for a teacher who stops teaching students who are not able to be taught. Anguttara Nikaya, AN 4.111. Anyway, in this analogy, the aliens are all the little sensations that make up our experience. Shooting them means paying attention to them and seeing their true nature, perhaps with the aid of noting practice, like a gun with a laser sight on it. The aliens shooting us is what happens when we do not see their true nature, as they become a hindrance, binding us in misperception for however long we fail to shoot them. Some may even take us out of the game, causing us to stop practicing entirely. The seemingly huge aliens that take multiple hits to kill are our own big issues, those things that are difficult for us to break into their composite sensations, termed bosses in the video game parlance. Being penalized for shooting wastefully is what can happen if we note sensations that we didn't experience because we fell into repetitive, imprecise, mantra-like noting habits. Further, the speed, precision, and playful attitude required for video games is exactly the feel of well-done insight practice. If you watch a kid playing a fast alien shooting game, you will notice that they are really going for it. They are shooting very fast and thinking of nothing but doing that. This is exactly the sort of dedication and passion that helps with insight practice, as we delve with penetrating insight into all the little sensations that make up our perceived objects and ourselves. I have met many adults who might arrogantly criticize a skilled gamer for wasting time playing video games when that same critical adult couldn't come anywhere near to matching the gamer's skill in rapid recognition and moment-to-moment sustained concentration. Be like the gamer, not the critical adult. Have fun with your reality and blaze. When our mindfulness and investigation are on hair trigger, being aware of every little sensation that arises and passes, we are bound to win sooner or later. The motto, "Note first, ask questions later," is so helpful if we are to keep practicing precisely without getting lost in the stories. Again, off the cushion, the stories can have some value if not taken too seriously. On the cushion, take no prisoners, note 'em all, and let God sort 'em out. This is seemingly extreme, but actually very powerful and profound advice. Do not dismiss lightly the analogy of shootin' aliens. Where the analogy of shootin' aliens breaks down is that these aliens want attention, recognition, understanding, and acceptance, and who could blame them? They come to us so that we will welcome them clearly and openly, but if we fail to do this, they can get very troublesome. Their little alien hearts are being broken when we don't get to know them as they are, so who can blame them when they get mischievous and try to trick us into paying more attention to them by causing trouble? Sure, it's a bit childish of them, but we don't always get to meet mature and well-adjusted aliens. Thus, rather than killing our aliens by shooting them, we give them what they want by acknowledging, noticing, or noting them. We don't invite the pretty ones to stay with us forever, nor do we ignore the boring aliens. We don't kick out the ugly ones either. Like a politician on the campaign trail, we extend a hand to all, say hello, and then quickly do this for lots of others. When we meet them, greet them, get to know, accept, and even love them, they go away happy. I realize that I've just gone from apparently violent to apparently mushy, but somewhere in there is what insight practice is all about. We are simultaneously tearing down the illusion of a fixed and unchanging self, while really getting to know and accept ourselves as we are in any given moment. Fun stuff. This specific video game is the most exciting, intimate, relevant, and amazing one I have ever played, and I highly recommend it. For those unfamiliar with it, it's called Reality. I have already mentioned many possible exercises, perspectives, and emphases that may be used when exploring our reality for the purpose of awakening, and I will continue to mention more as we go along. However, I recommend that the foundation of your practice be investigation of the three characteristics of the sensations that make up your reality. If you find it too complicated to try to investigate all three characteristics at once, then I recommend quick and precise investigation of impermanence. If that seems too difficult, I have found the simple practice of noting very quickly to be more than sufficiently powerful for gaining clear and direct insight into the true nature of things. Should you find that the many instructions and avenues of inquiry I present are too confusing, remember this paragraph and stick to these simple but profound practices. When in doubt, note it out.